ئێرە بەندەری دۆڤەرە پۆلیسی بەریتانی کۆمەڵێک میدیای نێودەوڵەتیان بان کردووە بۆ ئەوەی کە ئەو بەلامانەیان پیشاندن کە قاچاقچی بەکارێنە یان کۆچبەر لە چەنەڵی ئینگلیزیەوە پێ تێدەپەڕن. بەلەمەکان زۆربەی زۆریان بەلەمی چووپن و ئەو بەشانە دەبینی کە مەترسی زۆر بۆ کەس کۆچبەر دروستەکات، هیچ ینی ڕێوشوێنێکی سەلامەتیان تیان نییە و ئەگەر شتێک ئەوەی کە کێشەی گەورەیە بۆ نمونەوەی پۆلیسی بەریتانی دەڵێ ئەم بەلەمانە ئێستا هەموو ئەم چووپە هەمووی یەک بەشە، ئەگەر لە شوێنێکەوە کونێک دروست بێ هەموو بەلەمەکە باڵێن هەوای تێدا نامێن و نوقم دەبێت. ئەوەی کە ئەمان دەڵێن ئەم بەلەمانە لە زۆر جار ئەم مادەیە کە لێ دروستکراوە بۆ خۆی بۆ بەلەم دروستکردن نییە، مادەی دیکەیە، نایلۆنی دیکەیە. هەندێک لەو قاچاقچیوانەی کە کۆچبەر دێن و دەبن پێکیانەوە دەنێن لە زۆر شوێن تێب دەبینی، یعنی ئاسەواری ئەوە دەبینی کە بەڕاستی هی سەلامەتی نیەوە. زۆر جار 6 کەس 7 کەس لە سەرم بەلەمانە بە زۆر دەخنێن سەرم بەلەمانە و بە چەناڵی ئینگلیزیە کە یەکێکە لەو شوێنانی کە بەڕاستی بۆ خۆی سەلامەت نی، هەر بۆ بەلەم بە شێوەیەکی گشتی سەلامەت نییە، بەڵام بە تایبەت بۆ بەلەمێکی لەم شێوەیە. What are you guys hoping to do today with, like, showing these small boats?
So we want people to understand the dangers of getting into one of these small boats. These small boats are not fit for purpose. They're not fit for any part of the small of the English Channel. They are poorly constructed. They are made from cheap materials. The engines aren't fit for that type of journey across the channel. People are not given life jackets that would save their life. If they go into the water, there's a good chance that the boats will capsize and people will lose their lives.
Right, so I see some of these boats, like this one. I mean, it looks really, really flimsy. It doesn't look like someone trusting their life with this. Do you guys get an idea of how people are convinced to get on these boats?
So, well, it's taken advantage of their desperation to get into United Kingdom. I mean, the problem is they do get to the beaches and they do see how bad these small boats are, but invariably the criminal gangs are mostly forcing them onto the boats. So there's a lot of panic, there's a lot of upset, children cry, women are distressed. They can be forced at knife point onto these boats because you don't have to be a specialist to see just how dangerous they are, even at first glance.
Right. The English Channel, it's not a safe place, right?
Yeah.
But do you guys also, because in some other stories that I was working on, the smugglers were deliberately taking them in bad weather because then police will watch less. Do you see a similar pattern here, or and also how dangerous is this?
Yeah, so there has to be a balance because the weather and the waves have to be a certain height before they can launch. If it's too dangerous, if the waves are too high, they won't even get away from the French coast. So they will time it correct. It can look flat when you leave France, but the weather changes very quickly in the UK and this part of the world, and all of a sudden the winds can increase, the waves can rise, and these boats will just collapse.
Right. In terms of surveillance, I was reading some of the UK government's data. It looks like you guys are spotting a lot of them. Are still some make here without being detected, or are you guys comfortable or confident that you're detecting most of those?
We're absolutely confident that we are detecting all of them. We haven't had any beach landings, what we call beach landings that are uncontrolled last year. So we're very proud of the work that we are putting into spotting these boats and making sure that we minimise the amount of fatalities, because we're very lucky that there's a lot more people haven't already died. And it's not just fatalities, the amount of injuries that we see that they acquire either on the French beaches or through the journey themselves, really life-changing injuries from fuel burns, for example. So it's really important that we stop people getting in these boats.
The small boats operation unit, is that a new unit, or tell me about the small boats operation? What do you guys do?
So we're called the Small Boats Operational Command. We have been set up for just over a year, part of Border Force, UK Border Force. And it's absolutely our job to focus our efforts on preventing small boats from entering the UK illegally, so that we can end this dangerous crossing and prevent these gangs, these evil gangs, from making money out of poor people and their misery.
Do you guys also see the smugglers, the gangs? Are they on? Have you guys also saw those coming with the boats, or usually just like they send the boat off and then they're staying in their comfortable places?
It is possible that sometimes the part of the criminal gang will travel with them to steer the boat to the UK, but it changes. It depends. There are many criminal gangs organising these trips, and they will vary in their methods of getting people over here. So it's possible.
After the launching of small boats operation, do you see a change in tactics with the gangs?
So we're working hard to, like anything, we were 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were worried about lorries and migrants being smuggled in the backs of lorries. We've moved on to small boats now. There's a chance that it could move to a different threat. But as long as it's less dangerous, then we'll cope, and we'll do our best to clamp down on whatever method these gangs will try and employ.
What my team would do is, when the boat comes in here, it is examined for any kind of forensics and that, and then imagery is taken. And after that, it's cut, and so people can't use it again. And then it's taken away and put in a warehouse, and then it's kept for 40 to 45 days, and then it's destroyed.
And you guys mostly get these kind of inflatables, or other types of boats coming too?
This is a general type. They range in different lengths. The biggest boat we've had was about 13 metres long, but it's extremely dangerous, because you can imagine it's quite long, and it was in the water, and it was like that. So that leads to problems, really. These have actually just recently come in, but already they're starting to deflate, and that's the issue. I mean, if you look inside here, they've cut a hole in the flooring, so that's where they expect the migrants to actually, that's a valve to actually pump it up while it's out at sea. So yeah,
this is very pumped now.
This is very pumped. Yeah, it's just really just come in as well. So
these were recently seized. Like, how recent are we talking?
31st.
31st.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the construct of the boat? Like, this doesn't look like someone just made it in their home. Is it like,
no,
where is it made?
Totally correct. So the thing that we need to understand is, someone hasn't bought a boat off the internet to come to the UK. These are not produced in a commercial factory. They're not well made. These are lots of parts that someone has put together, an organised gang has put together. It's just a floating platform to get people across the water on. So the rubber sheeting is brought in. This is not its main purpose. It's just mass ordered rubber sheeting, and then it's constructed somewhere, and then it's put together with tape and all sorts, fused together. You can see, sorry, I'm going to make you move a bit, but you can see at the end here, this transom part here, a lot of the time this is put together over here. This is probably one of the better made versions, to be honest. I will show you some that are even worse, but the fact is that these rubber sheets are put together and then bonded together with tape, and this is the part that gives way a lot of the time. So when there's a lot of people in there, we see these parts giving way, and that's what causes a lot of them to sink. The other reason is, a boat like this, if it was a commercially produced boat, should have different air compartments in it. So if you get a puncture or it's cut in a certain place, it should still be safe. In the majority of cases, we don't see multiple components in here. We'll just see it will just be one big boat. So if it takes in it, some sort of damage to it, then you'll find that it will sink. It will start taking on water and it will fold inwards. And that's where we see problems and sadly fatalities. So for me, I don't think a lot of the migrants realise what they're getting into when they're sold these and they see the adverts for it. So they think they're going to get like a boat trip across the UK that's well looked after. They're not. This is what they're facing. This is the reality of it. This material that the boat is made of is very thin. It's almost like a bouncy castle. It's not the material you would expect a boat to be made out of. So what happens is the smugglers will try and construct this boat in such a way that they'll maximise their profits, to try and make as much money, try and get as many people in. So you see the stitching around the boat is bad. It's not built for seagoing conditions. It's just sheets of rubber that they put together. Sometimes we cut these boats open and it's two boats fused together. The other things you'll see is sometimes the handles are falling off the side. Migrants will try and sit in here and hold on to these sides of the boats. I want to talk about how much air is inside the boats. When the boats are coming across the channel, they start deflating almost immediately. So inside, we recover lots of bicycle pumps that people purchase before they get in the boats. The reason these are in the boats is they're continuously pumping up the boats when they're coming across the channel. So it tends to be they'll come across the channel and they're losing air already. So the migrants will try frantically pump up the boats as they're coming across. Generally we see, in terms of migrants, we see that they don't have life vests all the time, or life jackets. The smugglers or the organised crime groups tend to give them anything they think will keep them afloat. Things like rubber rings. This rubber ring, for instance, is only for use in shallow water. This is built for playing in a swimming pool. It's not built for going across one of the busiest shipping channels in the world. So the criminal gangs will give these to migrants because they think it keeps them safe, but it doesn't. There's a danger of drowning. Sometimes we actually see them give life jackets to people. The problems with some of these life jackets are they're not very well made. They're built for leisure pursuits, for canoeing and boats on rivers. They're not supposed to be for out on the sea. What we do have a problem with in these boats is fuel. So the fuel from the engines will actually degrade the life jacket, which is what's happened here. And it's got like this lining that's become exposed. So this will not save people's lives at sea. And that is the problem with what we're dealing with on the English Channel, that people are taking to the water, they're ill prepared, the boats are in a terrible condition, and it's a danger to life. We also see some of these. I think this is from a motorbike in a ring. People think this will keep them safe as well. So people deploy lots of things. And children as well, sadly as well, we see this. Again, this is for helping your little ones learn to swim. This is not for going across an ocean. So generally there's an engine on here, and the fuel is a major risk to the migrants. They suffer from something called fuel burns. So when the migrants are in here and they can't see the fuel, when the fuel mixes with the seawater, it actually can burn your hands. And we see a lot of migrants that come across that have burns all up their hands and arms. Because they don't know they're getting burned by fuel. And the gangs and the smugglers don't care about this. They just want to get people across. So we do see a lot of injuries. So that's another reason it's dangerous. The engine itself, which is over here, it's generally too underpowered to cross the channel. The criminal gangs will put stickers on the front that say they're a certain horsepower, and they're not. They're actually too underpowered to make the journey across the ocean. So many times we see that the engine actually gives way or is not able to propel the boat across the water, and then it's forced to be rescued either here or across in France. So these engines are not suitable for this type of construction of boat.
And you said like 50, 60 people getting something like this.
Often more. So year on year, we've seen an increase in the amount of migrants per boat. It's a sign of desperation. It's a sign to me that all the OCGs care about is trying to make money. So they're trying to maximise profits to the detriment of the people they're carrying. So yeah, I've seen 80, I think that the most we've seen above 80 people in one boat. And the more and more people you put in it, the more and more unstable it is on the water.
This doesn't look like seaworthy, but you're
No.
saying 80 people or so people get on. Like, how many people can ride this boat in a safe manner?
I would say that no one should be riding this boat. I wouldn't put a number on it at all. This boat is not designed for carrying people. It's not a commercially produced boat, so it's not safe at all, to be honest. I wouldn't put anyone that I know in this boat, even for a short trip. It's not designed to come across the English Channel. It is safe for nobody. What it's built for is just getting across a little way, and then people tend to be rescued. What I'm going to show you is some of the things that we find inside the migrant boats as well. And these things go to show how dangerous the crossing is. We get families in here, we get small children come across here, and this is not the place for anybody, let alone children or families. Because of the thinness of the material, we often see that it gets punctured. So we see makeshift puncture repair kits. I mean, this is the type of thing you get on a bicycle. They're trying to repair punctures as they come across to try and keep the boat afloat. We also see weapons inside boats as well. This is for a variety of different reasons. There's a lot of violence that happens on the beaches in France. It's not a safe place for anybody. There's criminal gangs operating over there. We see different types of weapons. We've seen meat cleavers, we've seen knives, we've seen all sorts coming across in these boats. The floor of the boat, this is an inflatable floor, but the trouble with the inflatable floor is as it's going over the waves, it bends like that. The migrants will often think the safest place to sit on the boat is in the middle. Generally it's not, because sometimes when people get rescued, everyone stands up inside the boat and it's very chaotic out at sea. That's when people fall in. That's when people disappear over the sides, and the emergency services can't always see people because sometimes it's at night. So another reason why it's incredibly dangerous. And these boats, as you can see, generally are black as well. It's very hard to see these boats when it's really dark outside there in the English Channel. Unfortunately, as I said, we do see children. We see little babies coming across, all sorts of children coming across, wrapped up, brought ashore. So unfortunately we do see a lot of that. What tends to happen is the boat actually takes on water as well as it's coming across. So the criminal gangs actually tell the migrants to start bailing out the water. And generally they're not aware of this when they're told about this journey. It's only when they get to the beaches and they're put in a boat that they're told that they've got to bail out the water. So it's actually incredibly dangerous, and people start panicking because these boats are full of people, so they're trying to bail out the water. So they make this makeshift contraption so they can get the water out. And again, we have lots of children's clothes and things like that. And they'll use anything. They'll use tyres as well, and generally things that to try and make it seaworthy, but there is no way that any of this boat is seaworthy.